Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Weekend Wrap Up, the New Year's edition. Josh,
It's 2025, David.
man,
It's a
I
whole
know
new
it. I
year.
know it. When I was getting ready to set things up, I had that tendency to hit 2024.
Right.
So, we've got to get used to that. But Happy New Year's to everybody.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
We trust everybody had a safe and Happy New Year celebration. Josh, what all's been going on? I know not a lot's happening right
Not
now,
a
but
lot going on. No, I was going to go downtown to the big pencil drop off the historic courthouse and realized we don't have a New Year's celebration by the courthouse. So there wasn't one to go to. So
nothing
I,
dropping.
I sat at home and watched the Nashville one. I tapped out about 10:30.
10:30.
About 10:30, I tapped out. So if you ever do go down to downtown Nashville, just a little insider tip. What they show you. Have you ever watched the CBS broadcast? They do it every year now.
Yeah.
So they show them outside at the big group of people, and they keep cutting to these bars, and you're like, man, if you go to Nashville on New Year's Eve, I can see Luke Bryan, I can see all these big names at the bars, Miranda Lambert.
Yeah.
Those people aren't at their bars.
No, they're not there.
That's all pre-recorded.
Yeah, of course it is.
That's all pre-recorded. So don't come down to Nashville on New Year's expect you're going to go down to the honky tonks and see all the big names. They're not there. They're not there. They do the one big show out on the stage, and that's live, and the rest of it's all was recorded like back in the summer.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, yeah. So, but no, it was good, and we've come into a whole new year. Maybe we should hear from our sponsor first, and then we'll dive into what happened in the past couple of weeks.
We'll be right back.
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 19.
Again, we want to thank our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance, for allowing us to do the weekend wrap-up show, the news that matters.
Yes.
And speaking of news, Josh, what all we got this week?
Well, I think we're going to start with something a little bit breaking news. We were supposed to have some weather this morning.
Right.
I can tell you, I saw a post yesterday. It was on one of the Shelbyville groups. It said, don't drive into Nashville in the morning. It's going to be weather. And I thought, I'm driving in Nashville in the morning. I drove in. It was fine. It was rain as expected. But we're about to hit some cold weather. And I believe that we have heard just recently that we're going to have some shelter available for people in need. So what do you got?
Beginning tomorrow night, Monday at 6 p.m. going to 8 a.m., there will be a warming shelter open for anybody that needs it. I know our homeless community needs to get word of this. So if you know someone that could use this service, it's going to be at Fairhaven Baptist Church beginning at 6 p.m. And transportation will be provided. The phone number to reach the people coordinating this is 616-962-4216. And there's a meeting place, and there will be a transportation. I think they've got a van that will be hauling people out and bringing people back. But this will remain intact while we have this cold spell coming through. Probably the biggest part of this week that will be provided. And depending on how the temperatures go, possibly next week. I know the weekend looks like there's a snow event or a mixed precipitation event that's about to take place. And speaking of that, I know to our north this morning in Kentucky, they had some ice and some snow
up there. Yeah.
So we're watching this next system that's supposed to come in Friday, which I've got my eye on it. And I know Elijah Kirby with Shelbyville Weather, he's got his eye on it. Between the two of us, we'll try to keep people posted on what that. But Elijah does a great job of keeping things out there. And, of course, we're going to do it, too, because it's the news,
Yeah, and just back to the warming shelter, I see a lot, and I've seen a lot in the last couple of weeks, people on Facebook, again, pointing out the fact that the city doesn't have a homeless shelter, and the government needs to do this, and the government needs to do that. Once again, the nonprofits in particular have stepped up again this winter, and they're with the homeless and get some housing and stuff. It should be.
Yes.
And that's going to happen again. And we appreciate all the volunteers, all the people that are going to give their time and their money, prepare food. I mean, there's going to be people there that sit with them all night and all that. And Toby that's going to do the transportation. And that's the way it was handled last winter. That's the way it'll be handled again this winter.
That's the way it was handled years and years ago. Nobody looked at the government and said, you should provide this. The government just I mean, gets thrown under the bus all the time. And I know
Right.
you're now an elected representative, so you have an attachment to the government.
Right.
But if people want to complain about we don't have this and have that, well, then get out and do it. I mean, that's the thing. We can get out and do it. And churches, that's the perfect service for a church.
Yeah.
Perfect project. And we have a lot of churches.
Yeah. We got a lot of churches in town, and we appreciate those that have stepped up. And that's a lot of how our soup kitchen survives.
Right.
It's a lot of churches that have stepped in there and provide the manpower to prepare the food and everything every week, and donate the food as well. So,
right. Government can't do everything, and they can't pay for everything like that.
Yeah.
And we don't want them to. I mean, we have opportunity here to serve fellow man.
Yeah, to serve each other. So it's great. So let's get into a few things going on. Again, not a lot going on. It's been the holidays. We haven't talked for 2 weeks. Just wanted to, starting off, I started my new year at Glass Hollow Table. I finally got to go and have a dinner there on Friday night. So everything I heard about it was right. I had some kind of Cajun pasta thing. It was really good. The salad bar was nice. Great location, beautiful building. Just wanted to say, really enjoyed it. And if you haven't had a chance to get out there, it's a good place to go. One thing I will say, and this is not a knock on Glass Hollow, this is just the way that our current economy is. The only reason I was able to go to Glass Hollow is because I got a generous Christmas gift from somebody, which was a gift card there. And, I don't know about the rest of the people out there, but me personally, I couldn't afford to go out to eat on a Friday night every Friday at what it costs to go out to eat anymore.
Oh, I know. So it's tough everywhere. But
it's crazy. Yeah.
If you want the best, though, this is it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Here locally, this would be the place to go for sure for a special event, and we'll go again, probably Valentine's or birthdays and that kind of thing. But I do also menu work. Just a little side note. I did a restaurant out a few states west of us here over the week, and they're upping their prices again. And it's,
right.
Steaks went from $56 to $60.
Wow.
They've got soups. They're like $14 now. I'm like, how do people afford to go out and have a meal anymore?
That's a once a year event now.
For a lot
of families.
Yeah.
Tough.
So it's,
but I have not had one person that I've heard give a bad review.
Right.
Glass Hollow Table.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, it's worth it. I think I saw they posted today. They're sometime this month, they're planning on expanding their hours and their menu. They're currently closed on Sundays, which is why they posted the post today. So people weren't looking to go there for dinner tonight. But sometime later this month, they're going to expand their hours, expand their menu. So it's a great local restaurant, great place to go out and have a meal. So
awesome.
Also, since just thought I'd bring this up, start of the new year, everybody does New Year's resolutions. So one that a lot of people do is they're going to exercise more.
Of course they are.
And the city, to take advantage of that every year, this is the time that you can get 25% off if you want to get a membership at the rec center, which is probably the best deal in town as far as if you want to go somewhere and do exercise and stuff. You can get a whole family membership now for it's $243.75 for the whole year.
In January, it will be packed.
It will be packed.
February, it'll be vacant.
There'll be nobody there. But if you want to go ahead and prepay your membership, this is the time of year to do it every year. Because for the whole month of January, it actually started in December, but they give 25% off those. And I mean, at the rec center, you got the full workout area, you got an indoor pool, you got an outdoor pool, you got tent, you got all these things going on there. There's nothing else like it in town. And it's, if that was your resolution, now my resolution was I'm going to try to not write 2024 on anything I wrote this year. Right. I'll fail that resolution too, but I didn't get into the rec center, resolutions, but some people do. So, another kind of a side note, not really though. I did a tour of our police facility last week.
Yes,
and we definitely need some upgrades there. They're cramped in there. Most of the, I guess these would be the supervisors of the actual patrol shifts and stuff. Their offices are actually old cells, holding cells. They're in old holding cells. Our evidence closet.
Well, the bars are removed.
The bars are removed. They're not locked in the
last
office.
time I saw it, there were no doors. They just got their empty cell.
Yeah,
no door.
Well, they have a door. But
that's awesome.
I think there was a door, but there was, they were not locked in there. But like our evidence is in a closet. I think my master bedroom closet is bigger than our evidence room right now. So,
not much evidence.
There was a pile of it. It's up to the ceiling, and they got nowhere to put it. So at some point, we're going to need to expand that. But the reason I'm going there is we always talk about the police numbers every month, and we should get those this week, and we'll probably talk about it next week. But I read an article this week. Nashville is about to build a new precinct because their response times are so bad. And we always talk about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, 4.5 minutes. If you live in the southeast corner of Davidson County, your average call response time in 2024 was 80 minutes. 80, an hour and 20 minutes to get a police officer.
Wow.
Now they break it down by if you had a real emergency, like you had an active shooter or something, they do get there in 15 minutes.
Well, it's over.
Yeah, but in 15 minutes, that's still not very good for
No.
you've been shot or something. If it's urgent, where you're not being shot at, but it's really urgent, it takes them an hour and 17 minutes was the average. That was the average. Some of them were worse than that. And if you just had your house broken into or something and it wasn't all that urgent, 145 minutes for them to show up at your house.
Wow,
so,
that's almost 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's over 2 hours to get to your house for a break-in or something.
Well,
so
it's probably understaffed.
It is
logistics.
Yeah, number of people and
issues.
whatnot. But I know there's a lot of people that have lived here their whole lives and they just kind of take it for granted that, you call the police and they show up in 5 minutes. Well, It doesn't work that way everywhere. So that's something positive.
Well, we can be thankful for the 3 minute wait time we've got.
Yeah.
Now 3 minutes when you're in a crisis seems
seems like forever.
But let's look at
77 minutes or 145 minutes.
15.2 minutes when bullets are flying.
When bullets are flying at you. That's pretty bad. So as far as actual meetings, there haven't been a lot, but Monday we had the IDB board, which is the Industrial Development Board, and all they were meeting about was Century Mold Company, who currently has a tax deal with the IDB board, which what this is if you're a big company and you bring in a certain number of jobs or a certain number of equipment, they give you a tax break basically on your property taxes. And they had added more equipment than their current agreement was. So this was just fixing some paperwork so that all of their equipment is not taxed at this point.
Were you a part of this meeting or did you
I was there. I went
so
to that
here's
meeting,
my question. Yeah. Century Mold has been here a long time.
Yeah.
How long do these agreements go for? I thought most of them were like 10 years or so.
Yeah, now this would not have been as long as they've been here. This would have been, they signed, and I don't know, they didn't have any paperwork for us at this meeting, but they apparently expanded at some point because they did this last year with Cooper Steel, remember? They did an expansion at some point, so we did a deal with them for the expanded amount. And these deals, I think a max deal runs maybe 7 years.
7,
yeah. So there were some who were still within their deal, but the dollar amount of their equipment had gone above what the paperwork was, so they just did a new addendum to that deal where they're still not paying taxes on this expansion at this point. So, but at some point people fall off. Like they mentioned at the meeting, I think, and I'll just throw a name out there. I think this was right. I think like Jostens had been in a deal, but they fell off this year because they got to the end of their deal.
They expired.
Yeah. And then at that point they're paying their full tax amount as well. Gotcha. So, and then the only real big meeting we've had in the last 2 weeks was City Council. We met for a study session Thursday evening. And this isn't even on the rundown, but I'll start with what the meeting actually started with. The mayor pointed out, because he and I had some discussions about it as well. This time last Sunday, I was standing on the side of Union Street looking at a hole in the ground at some guys putting some pipes back together. The 10-inch water main that runs the whole. I don't know how far it actually runs, but this was the third break on the west side of town between Jennings Lane and those apartments there, Oak Knoll Apartments.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's a short distance, too.
Oh, yeah, that's like a quarter mile.
Yeah,
so it was the third break since July. It broke Sunday morning. I started getting texts about 7:45 Sunday morning, probably broke about 7:30 or so. And shout out to the work crews that are on call, because the last thing you want to hear on a Sunday morning, the week between Christmas and New Year's, you got to go out and work all day.
Yeah.
But they brought a full crew out and they fixed it. And by about 2:00 in the afternoon, they had it fixed. But in that meantime,
everybody's
6.5 hours, nobody has water, and I'm getting Facebook messages and texts. Hey, I can't shower. I can't do this. What's going on? Everybody wanted updates. So the mayor just pointed out at the study session that he did speak with Shelbyville Power, and they're aware of it. And there's not really a plan, it seems like, yet. But if this keeps happening, obviously we're going to want to see more of a plan, because, the first time, that's kind of bad. The second time it gets the worst. By the time it's happened 3 times in that period of time, people start to get a little antsy.
And I don't think thunder caused this one.
This was not. Yeah, that was the one in July. The explanation was it was a thunderstorm and it made the ground shake, and that's what made the pipe break.
If your pipe breaks because of that, you got issues with your pipe.
Well, you would think. Now the August one was a bush hog hit a fire hydrant. And when they went to replace the fire hydrant, some of the fittings were so old that the whole thing just fell apart, and they had to.
That's a clue. That's a clue, right there.
Yeah, that was also bad. And then this one, I look at the pipe that was broken. It's cast iron. It's made out of cast iron, and it just blew a hole in the side of it. So that's probably a bad sign as well. So,
well, some of those have been out there 80 years.
Yeah, and this would have been at least since probably maybe those apartments were built in the 70s, maybe when Brad's Market went in. I don't know when this was. Yeah.
75.
And Brad's Market may even have predated that. It may have been to go to when Brad's Market was built.
It was built in 71 or something.
Okay, so somewhere in that time period is when this pipe was put in. So, and it's starting to show.
Well, you had
its
Jostens
age.
Out there before then.
Yeah,
So,
and it could have been the Jostens.
Jostens is probably what got the water out to start with,
right?
And then of course you had the two subdivisions. You have Fairlane subdivision. You have the Cloverdale, the West Meadows subdivision,
right?
That was the last line, and they started extending out that way to some houses. And Jostens, I think, was the key cog that they got it, and that would have been probably 66, 67. So
yeah, that was a while back.
That's a few years.
Yeah, so, and as we found by it starting to break, it's starting to show its age. So they're going to have to something's going to have to give at some point. So,
well, I know the city doesn't bear any responsibility for the utilities other than coordinating with the power company.
Correct. Yeah, the power company budget, the city contributes nothing to the power company, and also the city doesn't take anything from their budget.
Right.
They get money from ratepayers, and they also can get government grants and whatnot, but they have their own independent. That's why there's also this separate power and water board. They're supposed to be independent, so they kind of stay out of the politics, if you will, of city government. They're supposed to be their own standalone entity. Now there is one city council person and the city manager sit on that board, but you've got other people on that board that outnumber them.
I mean, when you look at just that side of town, if you were to replace those pipes, that's a massive expenditure.
I would think so.
I mean, you're gonna have to dig that up and replace it,
right?
And we got a whole lot of other areas that's even older than that in this town.
Well, and I think that's probably a lot of the argument. Yeah, you can't fix this one and not fix the other ones. So, so what do you do? At this point, they just patch it as it breaks. But you get a whole lot of upset residents in the meantime when their water's out for half a day, especially on a Sunday morning when you want to go to church and turn the water on. You got none. Yeah. People were not so happy. So, getting into the actual meeting, the first item that was on the agenda was the charter changes, which the council had 3 special meetings for the charter to change it. And we've got down to brass tacks to where you got to do something. And the decision is, it seems, we'll know for sure this week, we're not going to do anything this year. So it's been punted till next year. The only thing that had kind of been decided on was that little bit of wording about a ratepayer on the power board versus I think account holder of record was what they're talking about doing. And kind of, it seemed like from the discussion at the council meeting, everybody thought it's kind of pointless to send that all the way up to the state legislature to change one word in the charter. So, it's so it ended up being a whole lot of much ado about nothing. But now we did get at the study session, we got a new set of information about our code of ethics, which Mr. Feldhaus felt like we need to get a city ethics commission. I've read through it. I don't know that I have a strong opinion either way yet, but it was kind of, last minute. I mean, that hadn't been anything that was discussed that I remember anyways in any of the 3 previous meetings.
All right. So the people of Shelbyville, the city of Shelbyville, the residents, the taxpayers know exactly what you're talking about. What would this ethics committee be in charge of? The ethics of the commission, the council, ethics
of the city council,
or employees, or just the city council.
The same targeted at the city council. The current ethics, which is right here, our current city code of ethics, which apparently came out in 2008. I read through it, and I guess the way it works right now is if somebody had an ethics complaint, basically the city attorney is the only one that really gets involved, and then they can bring it to the council. But I guess if you had an ethics complaint against a council member and then it was brought in front of the council, it's kind of like judging yourself. Pretty much. So that was the idea. And I'll tell you, again, I hate to always go back to Nashville, but in Nashville, they had a vote a couple years ago on this police oversight board. And my wife likes to rib me constantly about the fact that I voted yes to bring in this police oversight board. It seemed like a good idea at the presentation, and it turned into a fiasco, David.
Yeah.
It was a fiasco, and it's gone nowhere. And it was the same kind of deal. It was like, there'd been some police shootings. We need somebody to oversee the police, because if not, the police are, overseeing themselves basically. And it ended up just being a lot of political back and forth. And
that could turn into the same thing.
This seems like it could go in that same direction. So I don't know if anybody's going to try to move it in any direction, but the paperwork was handed out. There won't be any vote on the ethics thing. We do have to vote on whether or not to change the charter, and it seems like the direction it's going to go is it's just going to get funded until next year.
Next year. Push it down the road.
Push it down the road. It's gone. It's gone.
Have y'all decided to buy a bulldozer? Just push stuff out. Maybe you should bring that up. Let's get a bulldozer.
They bought a skid steer this year. That's close enough. You can use that. Okay. So, yeah. The other big thing that was on the agenda was 7 rezonings, which seems to be the order of business now. We like to rezone a lot of things here in town. I personally, I spoke up on a couple of them just because I was at planning. I want to make sure the rest of the city council knew kind of what the discussion was at planning. But I continue to be hesitant on this one on Barksdale / Whitthorne Street. Everything I've read, all my time over there, all my research, it seems like it doesn't fit within our current guidelines. It's close in some areas, but it doesn't fit. I mean, it doesn't follow all the rules.
Right.
But it seems like there's a feeling of, it's close enough, we'll let it slide.
Well, what do the residents surrounding that particular piece of property and development, how do they feel about it? Have you heard anything? I know Marilyn Ewing is
just from a handful. Honestly, you've got Bedford Manor to the south of it, so I don't feel like the renters there probably care a whole lot one way or the other. A lot of them are just renters. They're not the property owners.
Right.
So the only people that actually own any property is you've got a handful, I think 4 or 5 single-family homes to the north of it.
On Blue Ribbon.
Yeah, on Blue Ribbon,
right.
And then you've got 2 duplexes that it kind of wraps around those duplexes.
Right. Just so there's maybe like 6 residents.
Yeah, just a handful. They, the one gentleman on the corner, he's been there against it every meeting that I can remember that we've had. My feeling on it is obviously this one development is not going to break the city of Shelbyville, and it's not going to break that side of town. But if it's death by 1,000 cuts. If you keep letting every little one that just, it's kind of close enough, we'll let that slide. Oh, it's close enough, we'll let that slide. Oh, it's close enough, we'll let that slide. You let too many things slide, and you end up in a position where next thing you know, you turn around and things have gotten really bad over on that side of town. Or
every single home or dwelling or business, even any building, anything that's developed, anything that's built makes an impact.
Of some kind.
It could be a small impact, but it makes an impact. When I built this building sitting here, it made an impact. And if you build a home, Josh, it makes an impact.
Yeah.
Maybe not much, but like you say, it's you got to watch all these small things.
They add up. And what we've ended up with all over the city, because you can drive around and look at it now, is all these lots where we used to have a single family home, or we had a house with a barn or whatnot, suddenly has been replaced with multifamily, units where you've got more of a transient kind of people that are going to live there they might live there a year, 2 years, 3 years. You're not going to move in and live in one of these units for 15 years and raise your family. That's not the kind of housing we're providing right now. We're providing, units where you can move in and live, and they're nice, they're good finishes, they're all that. You're getting no amenities. If you go to another county and pay these dollar amounts that are being asked for these, as far as, in monthly rent, generally you're going to end up in a neighborhood that has a clubhouse and a pool and an exercise. You're getting none of that with these. This is just a place for you to, sleep at night, basically.
Right.
And not a lot of green space in most of these, if any. And it's not, you need some housing, you need rental housing, you need certain levels, but with these no amenity kind of just, places that are being built, this isn't long-term a big win for the city.
Right.
So we need to be building more stuff where we want families to move in, live here, raise their kids,
right.
Be in the same area for an extended period of time and become a part of the community. A lot of people are going to live in one of these for a year or 2 years, and then they may move to Tullahoma, or they may move to, wherever. And that's
the biggest thing I hear right now with the development that has been coming for the last few years. And it's the topic is the traffic flow.
And that,
and that's that there's an impact when multifamily goes and replaces single family. Yeah. There's an impact traffic wise when you had 8 cars replacing 2 cars. That's 6 more cars. You see the math.
Oh yeah,
those 6 cars are 6 more cars that are getting on the road right there. Okay?
Yeah, the same road. And I drove that neighborhood a couple times. The first time we had this for a vote in Barksdale, if you turn left out of where this development would be and drive down Barksdale to try to get to Madison Street, Barksdale's falling apart.
It's almost like a 1-lane road to begin with.
Yeah, it's bad. The pavement's falling off, and then it's got that weird S curve, and then it doesn't even feed to Madison. You got to make a couple weird turns to get to Madison. I don't know who designed that. So
yeah, they were drunk at the time.
They had a few drinks clearly before they drew that map, but it was not good. So I don't know. Hopefully we at least vote on it this Thursday.
Well, at least there's a road there, Josh, because when I was a kid, there wasn't even a road. It's just a field. You drove through it.
Drove through the field? Well, at least the guy that made the road through the field, could he not have drawn a straight line? Did he not have like a plumb line or something?
Because that property, they couldn't build it there, so they just went around where they could.
I don't know.
But they were driving through a field.
Yeah, well.
Seriously, traffic was on dirt for about a 50-foot patch there.
Out to get to Madison. Well, so we've improved over that, but so I don't know. Like I said, the only good thing is I hope we're going to vote on it this Thursday, because this thing has been on an agenda going back to May. So we're now in January of the next year. So it's one of those things we do need to move on with it, but that's kind of why I'm leaning the way I am. It's just, I think we've got low standards already. Let's not,
Speaking of standards, I know there have been 2 or 3 meetings of possibly doing some changes to our future land use and our development and our long-term plan about standards and so forth.
Yes.
Has that moved forward any?
That will be further down on the road.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We will have something in the upcoming week, so we will get to that.
Okay,
so there is a little bit of movement there. So just last thing that was discussed at the city council study session was what you and I had discussed a couple weeks ago, the amendments to the I-2 industrial area definition to allow waste transfer stations inside the city. That didn't go over very well at city council, David. Apparently every time, or at least this was the discussion, every time our trash contract runs out, which happens every so many years, they've tried to do this, and what this being put a waste transfer station inside the city. And the concern that you raised a couple weeks ago, I think is the same concern that's been raised in the past, which is if we open one of these, do we then become the destination of trash for all over Middle Tennessee? Or we suddenly
we don't want to be
trucks?
that destination.
No, we don't want to be the destination.
Nobody does. Nobody wants to be there. But there's got to be a destination for trash.
There has to be a final destination somewhere. So
I just don't want it to be Shelbyville.
Yeah. So now this is not this. It could be worse. It could be a landfill.
Well, it's in the final. It's in the final destination.
But you still don't even want to be. Do you want to have all those trucks full of trash driving through your town from other towns? Because there's obviously the besides the traffic issue, there's the odor issue.
We've already got odor issues.
We have enough odor issues without bringing in more trash. So it passed right through pre-planning and planning with no real major pushback. But man, it got to council and it's looking
well,
like
this is where the rubber meets the road, Josh. This
Yeah,
is
this
where
is
the
the
guys
final.
sitting there, the guys and gals are representing the people.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so
they
they're-
know, those people know. I'm
Yeah.
sitting, I put my place there and
Right.
say, nobody wants this.
Yeah. So there's going to be some.
Uh.
I would expect some more serious discussion this coming Thursday. The problem was our public works was not at the study session, so there was nobody there to speak to that side of the
Question.
argument. So
What are the repercussions if the city says no?
and this is not having had the official presentation yet. We haven't heard, but we were told that by saying yes, we were saving X amount of dollars, like
Of course.
over $100,000. So I guess the argument will be if we say no, it's going to cost us X amount of dollars.
Get
But-
paid to have more stink.
Yeah. So we will see.
But my
what
here's
the-
another question
yeah.
too: is it a landing spot for trash, or is it merely a transfer spot?
It is merely a transfer. Now, that was part of what they tried to write in the regulations. You couldn't even store trash overnight in this building. It had to come in and go out the exact same day. But that doesn't help you if you've got 100 trucks driving
No.
through town with trash. And who knows? I mean, I don't know what the number
Yeah.
is, but that would be a number that people would start to notice and start to not be happy with.
So the question is going to get down to: do we want to save that money and allow it? And then
Right.
how you weigh this out?
If not, then we've got to find one somewhere else. We've got to truck our trash
Right.
to somebody else that's allowed trash to be trucked in. So yeah, and then that's
Hello,
mileage. Yeah, and it may be, and I think actually that may be the county we're going to now. I don't know what county, honestly, but so that was discussed at the study session. That will also be discussed this coming week. And then last thing I wanted to point out, I read an interesting article. This U-Haul does this every year. U-Haul measures one-way rentals, and they do a ranking of the states as far as who has more people moving into the state versus going out of the state. And once again, Tennessee was fifth in the country for people coming in. So we lost to, I looked, it was only North and South Carolina, Texas, and Florida had more people coming in than Tennessee did. So we're still growing. But the part that stuck out to me was they included the...
Gosh, can I correct you again?
Yes.
We're not growing.
No, this is not
We're filling
growth
up.
in population.
We're
growth.
filling
Population growth.
up.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Just like your cup here.
Yes, we're
You
filling
might
up.
need a refill there
Yeah,
eventually. We're
Yes.
filling up.
We're filling
not
up.
getting a square inch bigger.
No, Tennessee's not
We're
getting
just
bigger. We're
getting
getting
fuller.
more people. So we're the fifth as far as people coming
Yeah.
in. But the point of this, because we don't normally cover state thing, but in the actual article in the Tennessean, they listed 10 or 15 of the cities that are impacting this growth locally. And there were ones that you would expect, like Brentwood and Clarksville and Franklin and Laverne. But buried down in those top 12 or 15 cities for growth was good old Shelbyville.
Right.
So we're part of where the people are coming to from out of state. And just anecdotally, I mean, I see it in my own neighborhood. We've got people that have moved in from California
Sure.
and
Yeah.
Illinois and all over the
Well,
country.
hey.
So
We should be
Yeah.
proud that people want to live in Tennessee.
we
There's
should,
no question.
Yeah, that part's
All right.
good.
How
Yeah.
we manage it is the problem.
Is-
Okay.
yeah,
and,
that's-
and,
yeah.
and that's the challenge that we have.
Right.
And that you will have as a representative
Yeah.
for here in Shelbyville. Looking back at this trash thing, the one thing that Trump kept pounding the table about when he was running for president is America first, America first. Well, Josh Blevins, and hey, me too,
Yeah.
is Shelbyville first, Bedford County first. I mean,
Right.
we got to take care of our folks
Oh,
here
sure.
and do things right. So
Yeah.
it's easy to get caught up in this, throw all the mud on the wall. Some of it eventually will stick. Well,
Right.
some of it's going to dry up and blow away too.
Yeah.
But honestly, we have to do, what's going on right now. The raising of the standards, the scrutinizing all the different things that are going to impact the
Right.
city of Shelbyville that you specifically have to deal with, and our county as well.
Oh, sure.
So-
Because, I mean,
so-
these decisions that we're making today at planning, at city council, I mean, these are going to affect people's lives for 5 years,
Right.
10 years, 20 years down
It's
the
not
road.
only going to
So,
affect the people that live here now, but the
Yeah.
people moving here are
Yeah.
going to be affected by it.
Yeah.
Do we want them to move to a place that is ready for them, or do we want them to move to a place and they get here and go, oh, we're out of water every other day? This was a bad move.
This was
we want them to say this was a good move.
right.
You know?
Yeah. we want them to have a positive experience. Yeah, we don't want them to think they moved to War Trace and the
exactly
water goes out all the time.
Oh, that's another topic.
That's a whole other topic. Yeah. So, but other than that, that was honestly meetings wise. That was about what we've had in the last couple of weeks. Again, it's been the holidays. It's been kind of a slow period. We'll start ramping up here in the next couple of weeks. But before we start looking forward, maybe we can hear from our sponsor one more time, and then we'll talk about the week ahead.
Be right back.
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 19...
Again, welcome back into the weekend wrap-up, the news that matters. Josh, what's coming up this week? I know there's a few things happening that you'll be involved in.
A few things, still a little slow. The county doesn't crank back up for a whole other week, but at the city level, I've got 3 different things I'm going to. Talking about growth and standards, Monday morning is the second ever meeting of the Growth Subcommittee, and this is at the Planning Commission about last month, I believe. They handed us out a spreadsheet of kind of their schedule for the first quarter of the year of how they were going to get us some, hopefully, improved standards on high-density R4 and PUD developments. And the first step on that spreadsheet was this meeting coming up Monday morning where they're going to discuss. We've had ideas kicked around going back to April of 2024 on improving these. I had a meeting this week where I talked about with the city manager, where they did a tour and they looked at how close some of these houses are in some of the subdivisions and the fire risk. And, we've got 5-foot side setbacks and some subdivisions would get you 10 feet between houses, which if one house starts on fire, the next one,
crosswind, you're just ablaze.
You're toast. So
it's dominoes.
Yeah. So
let me ask you about this. How much involved would our fire chief be involved in this dialogue? I know he brought some points at a workshop, and that was probably what you're talking about back in April, where you get in a small place like that, the crosswinds. How much input does our police chief and our fire chief have when this type of stuff is discussed?
Now, at this particular subcommittee, they're not a part of it, but they send somebody to pre-planning every month, and we're going to have this big meeting sometime in February, I believe it is, which will probably include them, where the Planning Commission, the City Council, the Power Board is all going to get together again and have kind of the same discussion we had back in April, which hopefully is going to go somewhere this year because it didn't go very far last year.
I hope that this type of stuff does not turn political and it stays practical.
Yeah.
This is really important. It doesn't matter about who can develop and who can't. It's about what's the best thing for everybody. Sure. And it stays practical. Yeah. Sometimes it turns political, Josh.
Oh, it does. And just my discussion I had this week, I was talking about how we need to get these things passed, this year, because we didn't pass them last year. And the comment I got was, well, that won't be so easy to get passed because developers are going to step in and are going to complain. I'm like,
your developers are subject to what you guys decide. They're not part of the decision process.
We need to do what's best for the people that live here. And the people that are going to move here, not just, worry about if we upset a couple developers.
Right. The developers will conform. Trust me.
Yeah.
There's people out there, as long as houses are going to be built, they're going to be building houses.
Oh, sure. Go to Williamson County and look at those neighborhoods.
There's not going to be.
They fit the standards.
We're not closing the door here. We're just talking about raising the standards.
Right. And that's what needs to be done. And that's hopefully the first step of that will be this meeting Monday morning. So, another meeting I'm probably going to go to just because it's a light week. Beer Board is meeting Wednesday evening. Not a lot goes on at that. I think they approved some beer licenses for some people.
Okay, all right.
I'll go hang out and see about that. And then the only big meeting this week is City Council meets Thursday evening, 6:00. Basically, everything we just talked about happening in the study session will be right back up at that City Council meeting. There hopefully should be votes on all 7 of those rezonings. It looks like there's going to be a deferral on the charter changes that will have to be voted on.
You will vote on that. Okay.
That has to be voted on. And then I would expect the heaviest discussion of the evening, just, from what I know going into it, should be about this waste transfer thing because it has to be voted on. So
How
our
quick
public works should
do you have
be
to
there.
vote this week on that about moving forward?
Well, see, that's the rub is their contract runs out in April. So if they delay things, it already requires 2 months of votes to even pass this thing that they're trying to pass. So if they delay it another month, they probably miss that window. So that'll be their argument.
Okay,
the argument is they're trying to move fast, but the counter argument is if you move fast, a lot of times you screw something up.
for the public.
Yeah.
Would you want a garbage transfer station,
waste transfer station,
transfer garbage transfer station inside the city limits of Shelbyville?
Right. Which we do currently have one. The city operates one at the end of
Do you want
Blue
a second
Ribbon.
one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you want another one of those?
Right.
But that is more of a convenience center for city people. You can actually go and dump there. I know contractors go dump stuff and they have to pay.
Yeah,
to
they
dump.
have a pay service there.
It's a source that we do have that's not all negative.
Right.
Okay. It has some positive things.
Yeah. And this new one that they're voting on will be it has to be an enclosed building. The trash has to go into a building. It has to be gathered and then put in a bigger truck and taken out of the building. So that's the discussion. But obviously the downside of it would be the trucks coming and going. Yeah. So it would have to be in an industrial area. This isn't going in anybody's, residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
So,
right.
But I expect that will be heavily discussed on Thursday night.
I'm sure it will.
So it's a big deal. And then other than that, like I said, no county meetings yet until the following week. So we'll talk about those on Saturday. And then I think that's all we really need to cover today.
Okay. Before we close out, I would like to remind everybody again, warming shelter for anybody that's homeless and needs a place from the hours of 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So it's an overnight place.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. Did I say p.m.?
You
Sorry.
said p.m. 8 a.m.
That's 6 p.m. 8 p.m. would not be long enough. 8 a.m. Yep. So that's from 6 in the evening till 8 in the morning at Fairhaven Baptist Church. And to reach out and get a van for your transportation and the logistics worked out, you contact 616-962-4216, and I will post this on Facebook, so it will be there. So if you didn't write that down, it will be posted as soon as we get off air here. Josh, it's off to another year. 2025. It's hard to even say 2025, but I know there's a lot of things that's going to have to take place this year. Hopefully a lot of good things.
Hopefully a lot of positive
it's good to
things.
sit back down and get this ball rolling. We're going to be back again on Saturday.
At
our normal time.
Yes.
At 10 a.m. Saturday to do our next wrap-up show and talk about the news that matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Happy